Katie from S.Media, and today I wanted to speak to you about influencer marketing in 2021, and more specifically, the need for pre-vetted influencers. And this is something that I've come across very recently. And basically what this entails is brands understanding the ethics and the drive of influencers and rating them on a rating system based on these certain qualities. What this means is that brands will be able to have a more transparent view of the influencers, and they'll be able to have a close to 100% prediction on profitable performance. Now, I don't know if everyone agrees with this. In my view, I'm not sure if I agree with this. I don't know if it's really important for brands to focus on this. What I think is more important is for brands to find influencers that match their brand values, and for them to work closely together to make sure that the influencer and the brand values align. And I think finding that relationship and working on the relationship and finding influencers that work well with your brand is more important than having influencers and rating them on things like what their ethics are or what their drive is. Because why would you want to rate them against each other? So that's my view. I don't think there is a need for pre-vetted influencers. I think there is a need to find influencers that match the brand values of the brands that the influencers are wanting to work with.
They're quite challenging time for lots of marketeers and brands at the moment, and one of the interesting ways of looking at influencers is to do Revshare. It's something that has been around for a while, but I think it's going to come more to the front at the moment as brands look to maximise the budgets and opportunities because the purse strings are quite tight. It's a relatively easy thing to set up once both partners have got the right thing. I think the key thing here is that in most influencer kind of marketing deals where the influencer just gets paid for doing their thing, that's okay. But quite often a lot of those influencers, in my view, are not always the right fit in terms of the brand. I think sometimes there can be a bit of a misalignment and it doesn't always feel real and have a real truth behind that kind of connection. I think the interesting thing with the Revshare deal is it suddenly becomes a bit more interesting for both parties longer term. So what it does make you do is it makes you as a brand and as an influencer really think about how you align in terms of your values and what you need out of it and what that means to the customers who are seeing the pieces. So I think not only from a Revshare perspective financially is it really, really, really good, but I think it actually probably brings the brand and the influencer and the consumer together in a much, much stronger way than previously done.
If you're worried about your brand being too small to work with an influencer, then it might be time for you to research into micro-influencers. So micro-influencers are people who have around 1,000 to 40,000 followers on a single social media platform. So they have a much smaller following base. But let me tell you a few reasons why that is a good thing and a few other benefits to using micro-influencers. So let's say you are a smaller brand with a smaller budget, but you still want to collaborate with somebody. Micro-influencers will work for a lot less than bigger influencers. They'll sometimes work for free or in exchange for a service or product from your brand. So it's a lot easier to start collaborating with them because they don't expect as much and they don't expect a bigger amount of money to work with your brand. So they are really good in that way. Another way they're good is that the trust between them and their followers is far greater than a bigger influencer or bigger celebrity. And this is because they're not out there doing huge brand deals and making a load of money on services and products they might not actually like. So their followers feel like they're more honest with them, they have a better relationship and they engage with them more, which means that your relationship with their followers will also be stronger.
Influencer marketing strategies in 2021 look like they're going to take a really, really sizable portion of marketing budgets, and one of the reasons I think this is the case is because they're seeing such a great value of user-generated content, and the fact that they can turn these users who are generating content around their brand or the particular service that they're providing, this sort of coverage that they're providing is going to be so useful for brands, as it's already been shown that influencers have such a great impact on people's recommendations, whether they want to buy or not. And as more people use social media and trust, these influencers, it's going to become such a powerful currency for these brands to use. And as more of these brands start to identify influencers and get involved with their markets and involved with the people who are buying their products and building this image through these users, it's going to just make such a great increase to overall brand awareness, but also these brands connecting much deeper with their communities as they have these ambassadors they've built up through recognizing their content and the service that it does for them, which is obviously causing a massive increase to sales as well as brand awareness.
The number one thing that you're going to be looking for with your influencers is their ability to create engagement. You need to be able to engage with your customers, and you want your influencers to do that. So the number of people that they're connected with and all that stuff really is secondary to the quality of the audience that they bring, and you want to really work with that influencer so that they understand how do people engage with your product and what are the value, what's the value that your content is bringing. So whether that influencer is a blogger or they're posting on social media or whatever that is, you're looking for those influencers who have that ability to transition from what they're talking about in their day-to-day activities and how that matches with your brand and how they are going to get people to engage with your brand because they engage with your brand, and that they're able to create content that really explains the value that your brand is bringing to them and the end customer. It does no good to fake it till you make it. If an influencer is going to be representing your brand, they need to be a user of your brand, they need to love your brand, and they need to be able to articulate the value of your brand. So this is going to be a super important point. It's not just about mentions, and it's not just about getting your name out there, but really engagement and understanding how to articulate value propositions.
Influencers has been around for a bit, and basically you'll see them on TikTok, Snapchat and Instagram. However, the influencer market now is quite saturated. You're not always going to get great value with influencers on these different platforms. And that's because there's just, like I said, it's saturated with so many of them on there, but also the content itself is so, mediocre really. No one really stands out, and for brands to get an influencer that stands out and has a unique aura about them and a unique way of bringing in sales for a brand, then brands are really going to struggle unless they don't have this. Not only that, but a lot of brands are wasting a lot of their budget on these influencers. So, you got to find the right type of influencers out there that's going to be cost effective, but also is going to help move your brand forward in the right way. The best way for this is micro-influencers. Micro-influencers are people who have followings of from 1,000 followers up to 40,000 followers within a specific special niche or special topic and what have you. And they're heavily engaging with all these different types of brands and topics and what have you that they're in. And brands basically need to look at this because these micro-influencers are more willing to work with these for free or in exchange of some of their products or services as a free trial. Now, this is a really good way and incentive to basically build up the influencer confidence, but also the influencer fan base and following, but also to show your brand in a really positive light and for you to increase long-term prospects with this influencer, that's for sure as well. So, yeah, I think brands just need to be a bit more wary and keep the eye out a bit more when it comes to influencers and what they really want out of their campaigns.